In my last video, I showed you how to set up Palm Desktop and sync your Palm M515 with Windows 11. This week, I'm going to do something kind of similar, but I'm going to use a device from a different company altogether. This week, we're going to talk about the Sony Clie. We're going to talk about this Sony device that's a portable handheld that works with the Palm Desktop and is running Palm OS. This is the Palm PEG SJ30. So before we get started on this video, a point of clarification on my previous video. If you remember, I showed you how to download applications from the website palmdb.net. Now, that website has a ton of software, games, and things. And if you remember, I was a little sketched out how some of the games had activation/hacktivation codes in them. Well, I posted my video to the Palm subreddit, and this is the response I got. Luke, who is the founder of palmdb.net, says, "Fun video. I like how you went into some of the hardware accessories in addition to the software side of things. Appreciate the shout out for palmdb.net. Also, as a point of clarification on app registration, the majority of our apps are hosted with registration info by permission from the original developer or publisher, including Astroware. So that means that you and I both are free to download and install the software even with the activation codes. So that means I'll be able to download my copy of Bejeweled and start playing it again." So with that bit of clarification out of the way, what I'd like to do is show you what comes in the box with your Sony PEG SJ30 Clie, whatever. Then I'd like to go over the specifications and the history of when this device came out. And finally, I'd like to go over a plan to use now that I know what I know about palmdb.net. So let's go ahead and flip the camera and see what's inside the box. So this is the original packaging for this device. You've got apps like Paint. You've got proprietary memory sticks that we'll get into a little bit later. A world alarm clock. So this would replace like your old watches that had multiple time zones, the GMT watches and things like that. You have a version of Excel which is called Documents to Go. So you can do, well, you can actually create Word and Excel files, which was pretty cool. Your system requirements, this thing required Windows 98, Millennium, 2000 XP Home, or Professional. It needed a Pentium processor with 133 megahertz, at least 64 megabytes of RAM, and an 800 by 600 screen. Not hard to surpass these days, but back then that was kind of a pricey machine. All the different products you can use with it. And here's the operating system. It's running Palm OS 4.1. It's got a Dragon Ball VZ33 megahertz processor, 16 megabytes of RAM. You've got USB, infrared, and memory stick interfaces, and a 320 by 320 screen. You've also got a jog dialer navigation, which is on the side, which we'll go into in a little bit too. And approximate 12 days of battery life when this thing was new. Opening the box. Instructions on how to sync. Sony had this like proprietary type cable which comes with a power cord, and then you plug in a USB cable into the side there. And as pretty standard with the Palm devices, you've got your stylus that has the reset button built inside the stylus if you unscrew it. This particular model came with a full version of IntelliSync, which we're not going to go over because I've got Palm Desktop, which works just fine. Then you can expand with all these different accessories for your Palm devices, which unfortunately I don't have any of, but if you know somebody that does, please let me know. I'd love to get something like this camera here and play with that. The read this first, which we are obviously not going to read. an add-on application guide, which is just a lot of information about different applications you can install. The software disk, which has never been opened. Your charging cable, which is here and in here. And then this is that cable that or the adapter that I was telling you about. You've got your DC port in and you've got your USB in. So that would just plug in just like that. And then finally your Palm. And it's got this raggedy little cover on it that you can take off just like that. And for the purposes of this video, I'll leave it off because it's kind of gross and old. Oh, also included in the box was a cheat sheet. If you'll remember last time I was trying to show you the graffiti alphabet that they have for the Palm devices, but this is an actual full cheat sheet that you could stick to the back of your device or keep with you in your wallet. Getting all of this mess out of the way, here we have the Sony Clie PEG SJ30. So picture this. The year is 2002. The #1 movie in America is the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. The top-selling phone of 2002 was the Nokia 6610, and the #1 song on the Billboard Top 100 charts was everyone's favorite band Nickelback with How You Remind Me. And it's in that atmosphere that Sony releases this, the PEG SJ30U. Now this, as I said before, has 16 megabytes of RAM, a 320 by 320 color screen, which looks a lot better than the M515 in my opinion. And it's got some new features that you don't find on the Palm Pilot. We've got a scroll wheel to go through applications, and you can also press the application. Or you can press down to open the application. You have a back button. And then you have your standard Palm type keys down here. You also have your graffiti writing pad area here. You can still use the home button, the menu button, and you have a search feature just like you do on the other Palm devices. The big differences are, again, the proprietary memory stick. I think their base model had 128 megabytes or something like that. And there were talks of them going all the way up to 5 gigabytes. You have a proprietary battery, which I believe I have replaced on this one. I cannot remember. You have a reset button. And there's your clips for the case that we took off earlier. Now there are a slew of accessories out there, as I showed you earlier, that you can hook to this port for things like audio out. So you could listen to music on this, and it could be like a music player. You could even download low-res versions of movies, which at the time were just movies. They didn't have anything that was low-res because nothing was high-res. But you could do a lot of stuff with it. And considering the Nokia 6610 was the coolest phone available, and the biggest deal with Nokia phones at the time was you had Snake, and they would also probably survive a nuclear explosion. Something like this would be what you would carry. Now, again, going to our website, palmdb.net, you can actually see there's an entire section dedicated to just this device. There's Memory Stick Pro drivers, all kinds of applications and accessory drivers. But the cool part is, like the M515, we can download anything that's running on Palm OS 4.0. So as you can see here, there's an entire section dedicated specifically to the Sony Palm devices. There's drivers for all the different accessories, but there's only like 3 pages of stuff, so we're not going to go over that too much. What we are going to do instead is I'm going to go and look for a game. We're going to do puzzle. We're going to go to Bejeweled first, because let's face it, this is like my favorite game in the whole world. Now you'll see there's hot-sync registration information here, which I would have to change the hot-sync ID to PalmDB, install it, then flip back to my other ID. Or there's an app that we can download called Hack Me. We're going to go here and get this app, and it's going to download there. We're going to grab that proprietary sync cable. So you can see here there's a bunch of applications, but if you look, this is my M515. Now what I have to do is switch over to this device, and then we can add all the different applications. Now normally folks didn't have several different devices, and considering when this came out, this was a $300 device, which nowadays you can obviously find smartphones that are cheaper than that. But you have to switch your user profile up here or else it won't sync. So that synced everything, it just didn't install anything because there was nothing to install on this device. We'll go in there, we'll try that. So that's a good bit of software there. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go down and find Hot Sync. We're gonna hit Hot Sync. This will pop up and it will show us installing all the software. You can see down here, since I've hit details, it's telling us what it's installing. This Agendas Pro, I'm not sure it's going to work. I tried to install on the M515, but it's something that will allow me, or in theory should allow me, to hot sync emails so that I can respond to emails, type them all up, and then once I hot sync, it will send the emails out as if they were being sent from my computer. This is what you would do before you had any kind of devices that would connect to Wi-Fi. Now I am on the lookout for a Palm TX, which has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built into it. So I'll see if I can find one of those and we can make another video on that. And now that it's installed the programs, it's just doing its basic sync. And as you can see here, with some of the programs, installing requires a restart, just like Windows or just like some of the smartphones. It's our little startup screen. And it's going to try to step me through the process to set up that agendas thing, but it will do that later. So now if we look, we've got the agenda software, we've got Bejeweled. We've got our free cell games that we've installed in there. So pretty much the same thing as before. Except I'll have to go in there and find the right version of this for the desktop. But what you can do there, you can go in here and delete, and you can tell it that you want to delete Bejeweled, and that's it. That's all you have to do to delete an application. So again, just like with the Palm M515, this device does sit out on my desk. I do like to play games on it, and I like to practice the graffiti writing and drawing. I'm still not very good at it. I never was good at it, even when these devices were new, but it's a lot of fun to play with. Now, some of you were kind of curious as to like what I could actually use this for, and you know how I could use it in 2024. And quite simply put, it's an offline calendar, address book, and baby gaming console. I am going to take your question as a challenge and see how much I can use these devices. And when I find a Palm TX, it will open up a world of possibilities. hopefully. So this was just a really brief video on the Sony Clie PEG SJ30. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I have making it. My name is Bryant. This is Reviews for Nerds. Have a great day.